Most teams think an AI assistant is just a chat box added to an application. They've already tried that. It looked impressive in a demo, then it became untestable, unpredictable, difficult to audit, and risky in production. In enterprise.NET systems, especially in regulated environments, that design fails quickly. If you are building or approving AI inside business-critical applications, understanding what a real AI assistant looks like is no longer optional. In this video, you'll see what a properly designed AI assistant looks like inside an enterprise.NET application, and why capability-first architecture, observability, and governance determine whether it succeeds in production. We'll move beyond chat demos and focus on how assistants integrate safely into real systems. Part 1. Why an AI assistant is an interface, not intelligence. A real AI assistant is not the intelligence in your system. It is the interface to intelligence. That distinction separates enterprise design from demo design. In production.NET systems, intelligence already exists. Business rules, workflow engines, validation logic, approval chains, domain services, APIs. These represent decisions your organization has already approved and audited. An AI assistant does not replace that intelligence, it exposes it safely. Think of the assistant as a conversational lens over existing capabilities. It helps users discover operations, clarify intent, and interpret outcomes. But it does not own the logic. When assistants are treated as interfaces, systems remain testable, rules remain deterministic, accountability remains human. When assistants are treated as intelligence, none of that survives. In well-structured .NET applications, this separation is natural. Services stay in service layers. Business rules stay in domain layers. The assistant orchestrates, it does not decide. That is the foundation of enterprise-grade design. Part 2. How assistants sit on top of capability-first architecture. Enterprise.NET systems already follow a capability-first pattern, whether teams label it that way or not. Capabilities exist as APIs, application services, domain modules, stored procedures, workflow engines. They have defined inputs, outputs, validation, logging, and authorization. A real AI assistant never bypasses those capabilities. It calls them. The assistant might interpret a user's intent, map it to a valid API call, and confirm the action. But execution still happens in deterministic code. That's what keeps AI safe in production. If validation fails, it fails normally. If authorization fails, it fails normally. If approval is required, the workflow still enforces it. The assistant becomes a guide, not an authority. This also protects you from model churn. You can change models, you can refine prompts, you can update embeddings, but your business logic does not change. In enterprise environments, that stability is non-negotiable. Part 3. What a real assistant actually does for users. A real AI assistant excels at assistance, not automation. Inside an enterprise.NET application, that typically means explaining what the system can do, translating natural language into valid operations, summarizing complex results, surfacing relevant records, guiding users through unfamiliar workflows, reducing cognitive load. Notice what it does not do. It does not invent workflows, it does not override business rules, it does not execute irreversible actions without confirmation. For architects, this means your domain model remains intact. For developers, this means your APIs stay the source of truth. For leadership, this means risk remains bounded. When assistants stay assistive, trust grows. When they attempt authority, incidents follow. Part 4. Why assistants must remain observable and minimally stateful. Enterprise assistants must be observable. Every interaction should be logged. Every downstream call should be traceable. Every action pass should be explainable. In .NET environments, that means integrating with existing logging frameworks, monitoring pipelines, and audit systems. State belongs in systems of record, not in chat history. When chat becomes state, debugging becomes guesswork, auditing becomes impossible, compliance reviews become uncomfortable. A real assistant reads state from your databases and services. It does not own it. That design supports post-incident analysis, security reviews, regulatory reporting, operational monitoring. Observability is not optional in enterprise AI. It is the price of responsible deployment. Part 5. How assistants reduce risk instead of increasing it. Poorly designed AI increases risk. Well-designed assistants reduce it. They constrain what AI can influence. They limit which APIs can be called. They require confirmation before sensitive actions. They operate within existing permission models. Instead of asking, "What can AI do?" you ask, "Where can AI assist safely?" That shift changes your entire risk posture. Failures become localized. Blast radius becomes limited. Confidence increases. This is why assistants belong early in an enterprise AI roadmap, especially inside Microsoft environments where governance and compliance matter. Assist first. Observe behavior. Instrument everything. Autonomy comes later, if ever. Part 6. Why this design scales across enterprise applications. Once this pattern exists, it scales cleanly. Every internal .NET application becomes a candidate, not because it needs AI, but because it benefits from better interaction. Assistants can share infrastructure, authentication integration, prompt orchestration layers, telemetry pipelines, model gateways. Yet each application retains ownership of its domain logic. This avoids the one global chatbot anti-pattern. Instead, you get consistent assistant behavior layered over independent, well-defined systems. That is how large Microsoft enterprises scale AI responsibly, without collapsing governance boundaries. Part 7. How to recognize when an assistant is designed correctly. You know an AI assistant is designed correctly when removing it does not break the system, changing models does not change business logic, logs explain every downstream action, domain services remain testable, authorization still governs execution, humans remain accountable. If those conditions are not true, the assistant owns too much. A real assistant enhances systems without redefining them. That's the enterprise standard, and the one most demos quietly ignore. AI assistant is an interface, not intelligence. It guides, it translates, it assists, but it does not own your business logic. In enterprise.NET systems, that separation is what allows AI to scale safely across departments, applications, and regulatory environments. As organizations understand this pattern, assistants become a disciplined bridge toward broader AI adoption, not a source of instability. If this execution-first perspective aligns with how you build systems, you'll find more work like this across my content. Thanks for watching.